we're very excited to launch our top series on the city with none other than Pravar Chaudhary, known to us as Bengawalk. I'm sure many of you who are in the room follow him already on his social media handles and YouTube channel. He uses images, maps, and other digital tools to raise questions about what it means to be inhabiting the city, particularly Bangalore. He asks us to pay attention to inanimate objects around us and what it means to have big infrastructure around us and whether they necessarily better our collective lives. A few words about the chair itself before we begin. We are doing this as a part of Chair on Urban Core and the Law, which is funded by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Policy and Law. We plan to hold these talks on the city every month, so till the first. And I'm glad you're opening this up. So, all your stuff.
Thank you so much. Can I just speak to the room? Check. Sorry. Hi. Thank you so much. That's very sweet. I'm excited to be here. This is my first time at NLS. And when people ask me, like, some people don't know NLS. I said it's an IIT with law. I hope that's okay. And yeah, I'm excited. It's a fun, small presentation that I have. And then after that, we can open it up. There's lots to talk about. The city is a shared space, and let's share some conversation. Yeah, okay. Can you let me know what's on the screen? Can everyone see the screen? Is that familiar with this? Right. Do you want to tell everyone a little more about it?
You can take the mic here.
As a part of the beautification drive, I think they created these artificial trees on the footpath in Bangalore, so not that in Pune, so that the pedestrians and the bikers they could get some shade, not just but they could watch it beautifully in the night when it blows up in the light.
I think that's really funny. I don't know what it is, but evidently this road was widened. It had a lot of trees. Pune used to be like Bangalore, used to be very nice road. And they cut the trees, they widened the road, and they put these steel structure, they call it trees, okay, and it gives shades to the footpath side, but it's made of steel, so that's really hard, right? And if the intent was to provide shade in this room, can you think of better ways to do this? You can raise your hand if you have suggestions for how we would provide shade to the side of the road. Anyone? That's a good idea.
That's the original idea.
Right. Like the original idea. Yeah. Even if you have to make artificial shade, you can make it out of bamboo. Yeah, which is lighter and will actually provide more shade. Metal absorbs heat and then emanates it. You still let's say the room it's really hot. Roads themselves get really hot. So this is a really silly thing. And this is not an isolated incident, right? That's the trend that we will talk about today, which is what we're calling over-engineering and under-design, right? Have any of you in this room heard this phrase, car brain? Hands up if you have. All right, cool. For those who haven't, would you like to guess? This side.
I'm guessing that the way you think about designing for anything is from the perspective of how a car will work. So like you want to fly over because you want to travel quickly by car. So everything is designed from the perspective of a
100%. That's spot on. And this has a 100 years old. Right? So this way of thinking and approaching urban design is also a recent phenomenon. Right? And it's skewed a lot of our spaces, our public spaces, to be more convenient for vehicles. Flyovers is a really good example. So in Bangalore, especially, if you look at flyovers, very few of them have like a pavement footpath on the side, right? But they're really wide and they have lots of space for vehicles. So this is a trend, and this is what we're going to talk about today. I have a few examples, and I'm sure you will be able to connect these two examples of your own as well. This is a station called SMVT. Anyone's been here recently? Or one more on this side? SMVT? No?
Fast way.
Cool. Who leads the hand here on this side? You mind sharing a little bit about your experience? When was it that you went? Why did you go there? How was it?
So I went to see a couple of friends who were traveling by train. Now, the interesting thing is I've taken trains that start from SMVT, but I haven't boarded them there because the station is right. And the only reason we went there was because they were moving and they had a lot of issues with them. Otherwise, you normally board the train at Bangalore, which is the next station after the and the metro station right across the road. Which is much easier to get to, but if people have luggage, so they need to be at the start. Yeah, I mean, largely the case is inaccessible. I think BMTC has done some work with the buses that they have to it, but the road that connects it, there's a wide, like, 4-lane road for like 500 meters on either side, and then it disappears. And the station is also mildly, I mean, this apologies to Banapadi, that is mildly in the middle of the way, relative to the rest of it.
That's a very fair and tight summary. Thank you. You can see what he described in the photo over here. I'm going to move my mouse down. Can you see this? Alright, so there's a really wide asphalted surface, right? This is the station, and this far away in the right is where you actually enter if you're talking about the vehicle. And this is where you enter if you're coming by walk, right? You need some videos of here, you can walk up the stairs. And I'm sure that many of you have looked at the environment majestic on the stage of the crossover. And there isn't a strong enough argument for leaving so much space barren like this, for especially when we start looking from human perspective. Their argument is that this is not very important valuable parking, and these are big wide roads. But this is a good example of overengineering of our brain, of thinking, of putting so many cars to get to this place and there is parking for that. But we see this whole station could have been very flexible legislation, which you can see here in the horizon. Right? This is Bangalore Metro, which is down the road from SMVT, down the tracks from SMVT. The road is much further away, it goes inside and outside. There is another way to look at this issue, right? This is the top view, it's the same scale of SMVT and of Kintown, right? And both of them are important stations in our city. And we can see here the amount of space that's being provided for parking. Actually, in the environment, this is the parking, this is like all of those speak out and all this stuff. Yeah. Whereas over here, this is just half of the parking. Right? And around it, you see a lot of thick wide roads that are essentially meant to serve this parking. Right? This is the pickup and drop off. You can see how cycling comes very closely together. And if you compare this pickup and drop off to this parking, you would say it's only 50-50. But here you would say that it's like 70, and it's cute. Right? It's symmetrical, it's same with the piece on the other side. But I think the idea of this is how much parking they give versus because the people that actually have the numbers, etc. Another good way to look at this is the size of the terminal itself, right? And also how it's broken. So, if I were to think about this with the same scale, I'm not going to around it to be. This is the size of the terminal, it's supposed to maximum capacity of 15,000 people, right? And the terminal is smaller for sure. But you'll see immediately that they got the hardware industry, which is doing platforms on both sides. They're buildings on both sides. Even though this is extra high capacity, I would argue that this is too big and it could have been made more compact. However, the benefit of making it more compact, I have a shorter distance to walk to catch my train, right? So from the I get off here, then security, I get this side, and then I can decide where the platform I need to go. Over here, if I'm using the parking, then no, I get off here, I still need to walk, then this like 4 times the distance, and then make the same. But the feature is 16 now. So that is the issue with designing for cars, that you just end up making everything bigger, and humans are walking to the very compact. Cycling is very compact, but cars and infrastructure makes cars things are a lot of space. This is the button. And in making sure that your questions or you have something to talk about, use LinkedIn. I will be happy to talk about it. Some goes from east to west, which means that in the model when we make buildings facing east or the west, the buildings are right. In any of you are living in a house with a window to the east or the west, this family you will is the picture. Yeah, and the bigger the window, the more sun get inside, and so the hotter it is. And over here, this is one example that we have the LP process where we have 3 buildings that have 3 trees in front of them. And here, you can see that on the rest of the street, the canopy continues. Here, there are large trees before. These are couple trees, and with these giant buildings which have glass windows. In a lot of cases, these glass windows will open. Right, which means that it is going to get hotter and hotter and hotter inside. If you open it, if you see something about that, right? Why have we done this? Because they have an engineering solution to the heat. They know that they can use heat and we can use fans, and so it's fine. We put glass window. Then we can use the glass, why it looks cool, but all doing the promotion units also. And so, one of them are cartridges, in fact, so that people can see their shots and see the doors and see their legs, right? Now, that part of the beginning I want to talk about, but just in terms of the cost that goes into cooling of the building, right? Is something that we don't worry about anymore. The energy and the efficiency of the program. And a good example again is here, where of course this building is really cute, right? And let's talk about that. Let's talk about the design concept that we've known for centuries. That because now we have engineering solutions to we just completely without, right? Both of them are restricting things there, and both of them are the same height, and you can see that the universe of the building is glass facade. And now as it looks like it opens, right? Usually windows are open, we have one more screen, so we can assume that this is open. Meanwhile, on this side, we have this what is like someone's residence, and above each of the windows, that's in this photo, in this little opening, right? That's there in all of our homes, probably, and in a lot of 20th century, with cross lines, follow code, you have a little bench on top, the red right? And if you have this red color, all your colors gets converted to this meeting, and it allows to enter moving, right? So, because we have an engineering solution, we are knowing a very good design solution, and both of them can work hand in hand, right? But we are more often than not choosing to go for engineering solution, even if it is more effort. Finally, I mean, everyone sees what is like this rectangular and it's got the shock value and all that. But if you really think about it, traffic in Bangalore over 24-hour period is there for 4 hours, like bad traffic, nearly. For like 6 hours, let's say, yeah. For equally relevant, but for 6 hours, let's say from 2 in the morning to 6, 7, 8 in the morning, is completely empty, yeah, or close to completely empty. So why have we designed our infrastructure to work and work something 20% capacity, focused on vehicles specifically, because this one is like that's the human thing. This is much wider, but that's the human, and we've seen that on this side we make space for people to walk around, that's the encourage cars. On this side, we need to make the road wider, and so we just not get the space for people and so for parking. And so as a person experiencing this planet that will feel the for cars, you feel out of place, you feel like nothing kept for you. You don't feel safe, you don't feel comfortable, and it's a waste, right? So from experience perspective, it's not great, but also from like practically resource perspective, carbon neutral perspective, this over-engineering, moving our knowledge of cars, has a lot of flaws. So how did we get here, right? I know that I can stop you for a second if you want to talk about something. How do we get here? So, I don't know how many of you already know this, but Bangalore used to be like that. Yeah, it was not green paradise that we hear about and see in the movies. This is roughly from 1700s, 1800s, right? Pravar Chaudhary, as well as you get outside the city, you will see this landscape again, right? Bangalore was just like that. This is another photo to explain the idea to you. This is southern River, so maybe towards the east. This is the like, early stages of life. You can see these two. This is early landmark, and this is the Bengaluru tower on top of the landmark. Right, so if you remember, we go to the really east. That flag over there is Bangalore Fort, which means that this is flag market over here, right? And then this is from roughly 1800s, and you can see that it's a barren, dry, desert living landscape, right? It was made, right? First, you could argue by Vimasutta and Agari. Yeah, they started this green with Larva, but I don't know, Bangalore is just smaller market, right? And it was here. So as the British unit, they would came out with two hot lots of trees, and they selected trees that would fit this climate, put a lot of trees. This tree, which is across Bangalore, which everyone has, is called the jade tree, and it's originally from Brazil, right? We brought it to India, and then it brought to the world. Now you see it from Assam to Kerala, it's spread across the country. But you could say roughly in the 1800s, 1900s, the British started planting these trees. In fact, the oldest native Bangalore is in the Taj West End. If you go inside, there was a Taj, and it said 180 something years old. It's really nice. Go check it out. So, if you assume that that's when they started planting these trees, they started it in their area, right? Like where they stay, which was Bengaluru side. As these trees grew, and everyone and the city grew along with it, and then making this great idea that plants are trees in and house also. So, roughly the history of Bangalore is like 8,000 people reached this peak pre-independence, and then post-independence, we started using layouts again, right? General, etc. And so all of them are picking up tricks from what the British already established and planning what we call adding new trees, right? Trees along the main roads with both sides, new shape. So 284, and that's like peak Bangalore. I think that everyone's nostalgia and Bangalore goes back to the 1890s. Right? When my parents moved to Bangalore in the 90s, and their brothers and his dad, there was super green roads that you see them still in parts, region and parts of Bangalore University campus. That is a majority of the experience city, right? As a very outskirts, of course, it's changed. But the city and the experience were beautiful roads. And I don't know if you can see this in the screen very well, but there's a lot more grain on this side than on this side. Whereas it is expanded, and so that's part of the grain, but also our roads are very wider, and we had to cut the way around these trees to make different roads. So that's where we are now, but the public this is that we can very easily go back. And we need to plant trees, and it's 20 years before we started looking at that again. And in the scale of the city, that's for that. So, how did we get here? And this is a very strong bias of me, because please feel free to disagree. But in my opinion, from what I've seen of the construction industry, I feel like the tools that we use themselves tend to help or tend to direct decisions that are over-engineered. For example, typical name with this kind was 3.3 meters, right? 3.5 meters, which is in the road scientist. It's supposed to be 3.5, but it's easier in AutoCAD to draw a 4 meter road, right? And it's easier in AutoCAD to draw a 2 meters of path instead of a 1.3 meter of path. And in this rounding off, what we get small numbers on the computer, what we get are roads that are little wide, right? And the roads slightly wider so that we get the guys faster. It's slightly much. So AutoCAD is one example, but right now the construction engineering industry uses a lot of tools where it is easier to design at the scale of a car than it is to at the scale of a human, right? So that is one factor. The other is the processes that we have. This I'm sure if you're familiar with the engineering process. What happens in the department says we want to do the work. This is how long the road is. And we invite builders, right? So when we invite builders, you can say that okay, I will build the road for you, and this is my quotation. Now the government is going to select the lowest bidder. And if the lowest bidder, the best bidder, is not the question was asked. Then, right? The government also has some cutoffs. For example, they say that within build, only should have at least 5 crores given last year, right? Now, is that cutoff that the right range is the winner is an government question to ask. And so the processes that were behind the scene of construction, and we guys know a lot more about this than we do probably, right? Also tend to affect the way that our cities are doing. Finally, policies themselves, at least until the very recent past, have been skewed towards building for cars. And so, for example, there's a thing called IRC guidelines, Indian Road Complex Guidelines. These are guidelines, so how I the road should be, etc. And so, there are models, mediums, and specific. And in that, there is what called level of service, right? Which basically means the capacity of the road that will be needed. And for the longest time, level of service was calculated in units of cars, not of people, not of buses, not cycles or two-wheelers, just cars, right? And that's a problem because that means that we will define roads for just cars for so long. That's why we have something that we have now. And when you travel across India, In 2024, Bangalore is not an outlier. Every city is facing traffic problems that stem from poor engineering choices, right? And poor engineering choices is one way to put it. Poor engineering is another way to talk about this, right? So what's happening now? These are trends like that are sometimes too big to even try to fight, but they're happening and it's good to be aware about these. There's a concept called car bloat, right? Cars that were released 20 years ago and cars that are being released on the market are much bigger, right? Maruti 800 compared to the smallest production car right now, Maruti 800 is smaller car, right? And I think 40-50% of the market is now experienced, right? In India, across the world, these numbers, people are being sold bigger cars, people are buying bigger cars, and they've been sold bigger cars for a lot of reasons. But the impact that this has on the city is that more space is being added cars, right? This is almost double the size, right? And just in terms of area that's here, land is the most valuable asset in the city, and you bring that up to cars. There's a good analogy for this, which is like, imagine taking any other private possession and making it a public space, right? For free. I would allow to take your bed and keep it on the road, take your sofa and keep it on the road without being charged for it. No. We will allow people to keep these massive vehicles on public space, the private vehicles that are used 5-10% of the time in this park, and public space has been cleaned by these vehicles, right? And both these cars go 1.35 people on average, somewhere in another, I mean, trend you can see in construction and in the narrative of development in the last few years is that there's big things, right? Last year around this time, there was talk about making an airport a luxury, with money here not luxury, and then the process which is all good. And the reason a lot of people don't want to luxury like that because they don't have a reliable airport, that was all structure or something. So altogether, this process happening, and then rapidly one guy was coming and say, there's so much space, just make an airport here. There is yellow light, you just draw this light on the satellite images, and you think if there's enough space, you can make an airport, right? It's not true. That's a heavy light, and that's like half the idea, yeah? And you can ask yourself the question, like, do we need an airport? In the island, in the better way to get there, there are, I will use it out, but I'm sure we can gather the sense. So we can ask ourselves, questions like this anymore, especially in the construction of the land, right? If it's big, it's going to be good. That tends to be the mindset. If we can build it, that's bigger. Mumbai Coastal Road is the office on that project. Anyone knows about Mumbai Coastal Road? Great. I can see your sadness. Along the entire coast of the city, we're building like 6, 10, 12 lane, I don't know how many lanes, massive highway. We can look at some photos later. And it's the coast, it's the most beautiful, most valuable asset of the city, right? And you're going to make the highways. This is the end journey. There's a book called Small and Beautiful. You have talked about it. Okay, I will, yeah. So I would highly recommend reading Small and Beautiful. It talks about, it's a lifestyle philosophy about infrastructure itself. And it says that just because we can make things massive, we don't need to. Yeah. This photo on the side is a residential green field. Green field means they're making it from scratch. So there's been some farm over here, and they've made a 6-7 meter wide road in front of people's houses, literally people's houses. And they were very easily made something like this. This is the 3 meter road, but which is 7 meter road because all these are series and there's parking in each other for 3 cars and so roads. This is the mass that we have. Similarly, existed for 10,000 years. That should just happen. So, who should we build as its for? Is the question that I think is good to ask. There's a little bit about us that I'll be happy to tell you, that what we do, but again, just so that I will stop here, you give your to talk about something.
Please take it. And I was actually when you were talking about roles, you mentioned that the way we think about roles are designing keep you in mind like the dimensions of a car. I wanted to ask you how and when did that happen? What was the motivation? Because in design, everything we do is based on anthropometry. So
That's right.
yeah, can you elaborate more on that?
Sure. So anthropometry and ergonomics, right? Like in all scales is what we should be preparing for. But
Just a second. I think you should tell us what is anthropometry. Sorry. Hello. I studied architecture back in the day. So in my first semester, anthropometry was basically like a Bible where you have dimensions of a typical human being and how it fits, for example, inside a bus stop or when you're designing a chair, how you sit on cold road and you're very standstill. So everything and everything that we design, even like if I'm making a digital product, I make sure that like how my thumb moves and how my eye moves. So I'm designing for activity and well. So in this world, like anything is designed for human beings.
I just want to add to that is that one of the critiques of this mode of designing, or at least the traditional way in which mode of designing is carried out, was the kind of bodies that it took care of. Right? So, what is, and I think the starting point of it was the white male body, which is of a certain size and a certain shape and proportion. Which is why also you find that a lot of things that are made, like mass market things that are made, don't fit people who are bigger, people who are short, people who don't fit outside those dimensions. And I think for those of us who are in the law school, the interesting point to think about because we think of the way law and the social sciences think of categories, stereotypes, and ideas, particularly the law. So it's interesting thing to think about what is the body and what is the artificial.
that's a great point. And I think to answer your question also, it's good to like rewind and look at the history of how we built, right? Computers themselves mainstream are like 40-50 years old. AutoCAD is, you could say, 20-30 years into mainstream. And really mainstream is AutoCAD 2010 specifically. As architecture student, you should be aware that's the one that everyone targeted, right? So that let's round it up to 15 years, right? So for 15 years, we've been designing on AutoCAD. And if you zoom back to like 1,500 years, we were designing pen and paper and we were designing, we were building with our hands. Right now, we're building with JCBs. So as you get into the detail of the history of contemporary last 50-60 years, you will see this trend that's moving from human to technology, right? Different touch points. And I think that is where the transition happened. For the last 15 years, most drawings are done on the computer and online, when you look for the CAD graphs and templates, right? They will find cars easier than you find people. Right? In models, you can make roads and the lanes easier than programs. So this is my experience. I see that you will be able to talk about it, or you can do discussions.
I'm open to the discussion because I have an example.
Oh, sure.
I have to go back.
Sure. And again, the unity is based on some experience, but I got it. Anyone else? Yes.
There's something wrong with this, right? So, are we also forgetting maybe people's psychologies or topographies or as well with the two factors while designing the cities? Because see, when we talk about Bangalore and we compare it to a city like Delhi, the topography is completely different. And what may work in Bangalore may not work in. And second thing is that I've also seen a difference in the psychological level as well that people, at least in Bengaluru, are not very keen on using shared mode of private transports, which is very common in cities, even smaller cities of Karnataka, like Vijayapura. I went to Vijayapura and they have shared autos. You go to Delhi, like from Atirupe to here, we don't have shared autos. But like in Delhi, we had Dwarka sector 14 from there, we had shared autos and shared taxis, shared e-rickshaws everywhere in the city. So maybe it's also like a question of psychology as well and topography really is that sure.
Sure. I mean, that's a factor for sure. As of now, I can't think of what to say other than the fact that regarding this specific point of shared transport, actually, there's a lot of work that's done. And Ojas at the back over there can give us a big speech about why Bangalore doesn't have as many shared transport options as the other. Actually, I just remembered one of them, which is that they were made legal at some point by the media. So the policy discourages shared autos in Bangalore, and there's a date to this. Right? Yes.
Just want to add, since we are thinking about for whom the cities are made and spending on the car railway. So last year, last year, there was industry data which says that only 8% households in India own cars. So the cities are catering those class of people who own and then everything is revolving around that. So that is one thing which I wanted to say. And the other thing, a discussion which was happening when metros were building there, which was to, and it's related to the designs and all, the surroundings and so on. So one debate was to build some stations which are merging in the historicity of the place. So if a metro station is planned at, let's say, Lal Killa, it should not be rock slide, it should somehow merge into the old architecture of the place. So this we and so which didn't happen, which if that didn't happen, then probably those metro stations will look better and different. So how fast can also be a factor to design a place or street.
Yeah, really good point.
So just to add to what Nashima said at the end, the surprising part is not impossible or difficult to because it has been done. But Bangalore is only exactly I think one location in the Karnataka where the entrance merges into the surrounding architecture. Delhi has done it in two places, which is Central Secretariat and Udyog Town, which are two sides of what is called transfer, which is not called something else. But basically, in that central vista, what is really represented in this area, very much into the architecture. So somehow, for everywhere else, taking the speed and move to the theater, we understand your glass.
Covered park, they put recorded word voice. Covered park, they put recorded word voice. We also have
Station art.
you belong to
Yeah, but I had two I had two other questions to ask, which are unrelated to each other. One part, one was when you put up that first slide of the steel in this way. I was reminded of a place I visited last year to Singapore. And in Singapore, they have this place called Garden Festival. It's one of now it's one of new Singapore's iconic landmarks. Because of their tourism growth. They have these gigantic steel structures, which they also call trees, by the way, which are sort of surrounded by creepers, and they have trees. They have like vegetation growing on them. And in the night also they light up and look very well. Usually you get that. I was wondering if Pune is in part botanical garden, part art exhibit. I was wondering if Pune was in some way like some bad reform of that. Because we all have all Indian cities have this aspiration to be one botanical. I was wondering if you have any like thoughts on whether it is inspired or
It might be, but even then it could have been better designed as we had it.
and the second question is more provocative, which is, would you describe the metro as an example of COVID?
For Bangalore, yes.
Ocean is very random. I would say metro itself, no stations, like the scale of our stations could be much more compact. Yeah, a lot of wasted space. I'm sure metro users would agree across the board in all of our stations. Also, good example of so like it's not fair to just label the whole system. I would say parts of it, yeah, are over-engineered. For example, on the way to the airport right now, the metro is being built on pillars. It could have been at grade. It could have been at the ground level, but it would save a lot of money. Right? I don't know the reason that it could have come pillars. Similarly, the stations.
Yeah, my point is that when we have a problem, are we searching the answers at the wrong place, right? Say, for example, traffic issue in Bangalore. The immediate answer that comes to everyone is widening of the roads, and it's a design problem, either a car drain or otherwise. That comes as an immediate answer. But I would rather think it as with the existing roads, if you actually manage the traffic very clearly by the police and the lane traffic is followed, most of the problems actually solved. You don't even need other roads over there. So the answer is elsewhere perhaps.
Yes, you're absolutely right. This is actually called road diet. Yeah, where they make the road narrower and mark lanes, and the network effect that it has is that it disincentivizes the people from putting out cars while giving them an option which is a nice clean level footpath. So you're absolutely right.
I just wanted to jump in to say a couple of things, just tagging along with what Chandra said and what Jasmine just said, but also, I mean, and this is where I think you come in and tell us a little more about what you do, because I think there is another part to your talk, and that is, it is not only over-engineered and under-designed, but also under-governed. And the fact that the Bangalore municipality hasn't had an election in the longest time. So when we keep saying what should we do, we are not the ones who should be doing things, we are just paying taxes, but there is no central authority, so to speak, and there are like private entities which take care of their own sort of neighborhoods and office powers and cases which they want to govern and manage well, etc. So I wanted you to also tell us, because you also do work on how to engage with the public and figure out how to increase accessibility at important choke points and things like that. Because we can remove cars from the streets, but there is this culture of people taking cars, and as you said, 1.5 people every vehicle. So no carpool culture either, right? So one of the baffling statistics that I came across, and I'm just like giving you an example, this is not exactly it, but say, suppose the city has 18 million people and it has 20 million cars. and knowing that not all people own one car each. So there's like, as you said, like some 7% of the population who actually own cars. Now you do the math, how many people actually own multiple cars, right? So if you could also tell us a little more about how you guys are sort of trying to engage us into moving away from cars and into more public commutes and access.
Good, so I will show you that. I think the big thing that we're trying to do, which is very is just spread this awareness of the issue about public transport versus cars. Okay? And before that, about the government's parts that we give, I think it's true that we have local government, media government for the last 3 years. But even if we did, they don't have the capacity to do a great job right now. And over there, I think this part will be cleared by people like in this bill, where like designing policies that will eventually come into being, because the rules are strict, right? Like IIC and stuff. So there's no government, the government is that the government is complete, but also like the system that the government is using to cover is not good and it's skewed right now towards making more decisions in that. Yeah. So it's easier for the government to do a flyover than to build a network. So I think talk about
Why is it that it's easier for the government to build a flyover and not say a network of buses? I would guess a fleet of bus would be like far cheaper, far more affordable.
But flyover is one piece, right? You make it and it's done. Bus is a system. There are a lot of moving parts. Right now, BFTC is struggling because one of the reasons is they don't have a hiring system in place. So we don't have enough bus drivers and conductors, which is why the buses that they have with the full capacity. You could easily do a night shift, right? With the same buses, if they had more drivers, more conductors. And it's a system problem, so it's harder to solve. It requires whole manpower at each level, right? Whereas some drivers, let's say, this is your driving, will give you, and the field will be right? So, it's not cheap. Okay.
So, what is this time along the same line and like that? So, it is a problem of government, you say that. The kind of problems which we are experiencing in our brain. So, you said flyover is a incident. So, one spot there, it's done, dusted, everything is good, but you don't have a system where you can recruit bus drivers. So, once you recruit bus drivers, then you have to think about their employment, their security, their birth of buses. You need to completely revitalize the entire system every time again. So, is this a problem of the bad governance, bad planning of the city? Or is it the problem as you started with that, oh, there are certain issues associated with the very broad capitalist argument, one would say, okay, about accumulation and so on. What is the problem which you see?
So, like,
Because a lot of debate is also on that how various bodies, Bangalore also and other municipal bodies also, they don't tag along with one another often. Right.
100%. So I would say that that is part of the problem, and that is not strong enough word, not accurate enough. Bad governance is not it. I would say one is that it's a zeitgeist thing, right? We are alive in 2024, and 2024 also means that think and we're more accessible than ever before. And some people will be good, so they don't realize it. Some of those people are immediately, and they think a certain way because of like where we are in that time. Culture needs increase, no experience needs this. Our history is connected with to how you think about what the city should be, right? Bad governance. Again, I think it comes back to that they don't have the capacity to do that job. I do work with DLP and there are few people for sure who are trying their best to do that job. Right? But the outcome of the new is they don't have the awareness in sense, right? When they study in engineering college 30 years ago, they were applying to cities, right? And that's such a reason. They don't have any too much skill to learn how to do medicine to go there. So, experts on construction methods and how to do it. And so you can't put it in the mind. That is what I would say. There are a lot of ways you can do it.
Other thing which, I don't want to have this longer sort of consumer, but consumer mind in the sense that in India, there are a lot of problems, especially scholars who are studying India. Many of them have a huge problem in the sense that they are facing one lack of skill capacity, right? Fair, lack of skill capacity. But whatever the skill capacity you have had, the way it needs to function, and do it. There are people in the who SMVT sort of thing like that. It's also about that the governance part is not about that how well you can function, but from which standpoint you are functioning.
Yes.
Right? So the entire thinking, entire process is something which is coming from a different location where it should start from below. Right? So how to address these problems? So they say you are an advisor to the government. And you go to the MP and you talk about it. Then how do you bring these notions, these ideas to the table? And say that, come on, man, look at this. Things should have been discussed and things should have been brought up from the point of the person who is living in that particular residence, like that particular area, the habitat, but not in the context of somebody who has or who owns a particular car.
Right.
Those sort of conversations, do they take place or not? I'm just curious, I'm not sure.
They do. Happy to report, because they do. And they're increasing in quality and quantity. But it will take time. Things are very simple. Yes.
Some years back, I had a broader question with Maniket for quality reception to these kinds of ideas to the current government scale. But two thoughts flowing from that. So one is that engineering students sometimes can be to output. And I'm thinking of the tender show project launched some years back in version 1 of that project, which covered the areas that are cannot go or geography that type of ways to the area. The one immediate outcome that was produced by the and it's the first and I think one of the few government initiatives that I've seen that actually prioritize providing road space to the right. So on Denmark road, the weight of the road actually reduced and they made road for most of the and they managed to do that for the most part without actually cutting down the streets. The second part is that political priorities also sometimes have unintended outcomes. Right? So there's a group in Bangalore that I've interacted with previously that's called the Bangalore Bus Transport, which is the Bangalore Bus Business Board. They have been one of the central points that they've been advocating around is to make public transport more affordable and accessible for particularly for wage workers. And they've been campaigning for fare reductions for for a long time. And one of the things that happened in 2023 when the new government came in was that they announced free travel for women. And the basically has subsequently spoken in document about how this actually made the city so much more accessible for a lot of working women because they no longer have to worry about work. It tremendously increases their mobility. So sometimes I feel like conservation is also about trying to align outcomes to current political priorities that exist to the government. Like what are the gaps that we step into, and how can we work with certain things to make them together. So tennis I believe happened because they followed the IRC standards, and the IRC standards, like you said, mandate to quite strict the footpath. And for AutoCAD, 1.8 became 2,000, like 2 meters below the order, but then it's 20, and so on.
Yeah, the reports, and sure, I agree with, and the other one is, I think, which is that everybody needs to do it. Right? When you're negotiating with the government, if you go with too radical an agenda, you will not sit down and do it. You will not call it business. But if you can come up with something that everyone wins, which is what is happening more and more and more. Right? And I think that's a good reason to be honest. Then good stuff happens. Temperature sets the path for temperature light, which is what they call the white top impact. That's happening. Right? You notice a lot of white top impact as pretty good results. In the other feature of the good example. It took a lot of work done, but it does have good. So good things so far. We have been doing this.
Questions from that part of the office are coming together.
Yes.
Yeah, mainly speaking about that started in the center of the city, and even now the expansion has been largely to the very to areas in which are highlights of the city that gets a lot of visual footfall. So how much of government thinking there is influenced by the optics of it? That this is the central business district of the city. This is St. Mark's Road, this is MG Road, this is Indira. This is where most of Bangalore is highlighted. And how much of that is then transferable to other parts of the city that are more habited and are more densely populated, where concepts and ideas like temperature are much more harder to implement. Yeah, so just how much of it is a visual optics for the town?
105% is the optics of it, and that so that if you live in, for example, Bangalore, and you work in, for example, and you want to put something to the carpet, it will be harder for you to pitch it than if you develop the future, right? That all opposite demands the cost, for example. So that is the way it is, and very good observation. So all the good stuff starts in city center, it spreads out, and it needs to happen much faster. And this happen first, evenly. It's not fair, right? Like I said, the densest pockets of population don't get the services that we deserve in a modern developed city. And unless like you push for this change, with this, and even then it's unlikely that it will be evenly spread. So for example, if you from other product allocated for temperature rewards, after years something you might get it, but I will still remember with you, right? Because we could be that. So I think this is the way it is, the way we want that. And that was the question is not.
I think building on Krishna's point, example, and I think I have just two observations, one an observation, one question. The first one with regards to car trade, and this is with regards to your comparison of the governments. I think a very interesting point where capital and optics create this sort of incentive to, audit everything is the airport, where especially the terminal 2, where the tag is that you have to go 1.5 kilometers inside to reach your gate, right? And I think that's one that's a very important place where you can see the car train that being switched, where you have to walk through everything, walk through all the duty free, see all the novelty along the way to get your thing. And so that was just a general comment, and I think that's a very valid point which we raised. And my second point is more of a question. So I had the misfortune of living in Bangalore, particularly Bangalore, and a big problem over there, apart from very short governments, is that they have this quick fix to regulating traffic, that is underpasses. That is, there's one junction, you have the junction as it is on top, but you can create an underpass right below there and say that the problem is solved. Now, first of all, you had a really tragic death last year, when it flooded to the point because they hadn't drained it, and a person died in that. So that was one part of the horrible quality that they put into the underpass. But you also have another bigger underpass which comes all the way in HL and it comes out at HL, if I'm not wrong. So how does this work into city engineering? Like the underpass solution specifically, like that's just one which I've noticed recently, it comes up a lot.
So that's a really good example. It's close to NLSIU, the HAL underpass specifically. And for context of that, and like you said correctly, there's a chain of underpasses on that route, right? So why did this happen? Because in roughly 2012 or so, the government decided that we wanted to make single free corridors for cars, right? So the dream was that we should be able to go from Vilansala to HAL airport without any symptoms. And if you look at HAL airport, you might just go all the way to Mount. And we wanted to do this for 12 roads and control. Yeah. And a lot of that has kind of sort of happened. And that's why it exists. And it's not a good solution. And this is where it came from. And it's not solving the problem by any means. There's still traffic before and after the but this is where it came from. Single developers. I don't know if really good. It was one of the slides I noticed here. So it's too far to walk into, yeah, especially if you get off at the final reach and when you walk out, it's a 20-minute walk. So there we go. Yes. There we go.
I was taken by the picture that you showed of those two cars parked from the road, taking over public space. So there are a few observations and one question in terms of more. I know you raised issues, but I'm also curious about what are the way going forward in terms of the solution to that situation, because I'm sure there's a lot of houses which don't have parking spaces anyway incorporating them, and converting everything into apartments is not the way to go either. So what would be a solution you would suggest there? And one more thing that I know governments will be raised as an issue, but citizens also have a lot to say because I see many people putting up interesting constructions on the road in front of their houses, trying and actually people having fights that this space is mine, as if that belongs to their house or this part of the house. So there, in terms of, I don't know, a lot of people, in terms of raising awareness maybe, in knowing that that is a public space and not to fight about this. Each other, I mean, see people puncture car tires, to not make, and this is not something specific to Bangalore, but also observing in other cities. So I was looking at what would be a solution you might suggest in terms of either raising awareness or also to address this issue of accommodating the existing cars. There are some wider roads as well, where other street cops actually not allowing cars to be parked where roads can afford that kind of parking actually can be allowed in such roads, but where there are narrower roads, the cops won't do anything about it. So can we identify some spaces which can actually afford to maybe keep those cars or park those cars wherever those spaces can be afforded?
Great. Right. So I would say something last. The one first thing is that cities focus its streets. It's very valuable, and that's why we continue to fight over it. And that is why we needed to the market and to the people. It's not for the group. The government needs to confiscate it. The government needs to say that it is the road. You will park only on the next side and only over here. Everyone who parks in not those spots has to be fined for the country. So it's a really tough job, especially when we stand in Bangalore today. If I'm not wrong, we've crossed 1 crore private vehicles and our population is 1.5 crore. Right? Of the 1 crore private vehicles, roughly 20% are cars. I would argue that that's already doing as per the size of the city that we have. But if you add to solve the problem, there are many solutions to this problem. One is just to regulate on-street parking and make many things for it. We might probably also need multi-level parking to be created. We can also move in the market every way towards this incentivizing owning a car, right? Not the city includes it everywhere. So, for example, New York's going to have congestion charges, which is basically that if you can factor as an example, as soon as you enter out of the window with a personal vehicle, you have to start paying tax for the maintenance that you're inside the city, right? But this works only if you give people another option. You can't tax people using the private vehicle, not give them another option. So, big picture, public transport service provision needs to control from the government side. Why they need to regulate on-street parking. I think that's the biggest misuse and loss of the place in that time. And I think that with the present shall be short-term solutions. In the long term, if you look at any great city, any city that works, it's with our needs. So you need to travel less to find more opportunities, right? All things are closer to each other, so to travel less. And anywhere to travel, you travel for by public, so there's many technical theories about this. You can read about 15 different cities. It's a technical concept. And Bangalore, we were talking about is a cluster of many 15 different cities, which are in one city, one city, one city. And if you could develop these little bubbles to be self-sufficient and connect them to each other conveniently. So when you also put out about to Government, you have to walk to the bus with 5 minutes, and then the bus every 5 minutes, and it drops me to Government with 15 minutes, and I probably need to use a car. Same things have been bringing people argue for private vehicles, but here, if you design this to be well, with good heights, with good public transport, and you're actively on the streets, it is by design the system. So there's a lot of work for that. Yes.
I had another question with regards to public space, and very specifically public spaces that for community building and interaction, with reference to things like parks and grounds. Whereas now you're seeing, I think, a couple of incidents of government taking over grounds where kids play and just grounds where general community activity takes place. So my question was with regards to government parks in newer sections of the city, where more modern sections of the city, where me personally, I feel like they're seeing lesser parks and lesser newer parks because it is much easier for the government, I'm assuming, to maintain parks that are already there. But in parts of the city that are being constructed or that are increased occupancy now, is the government engaging in building community centers like this? Very simple things like parks and grounds. And I see a lot of these parks being run by private enterprises now in the center of the city and also more parts of the city, where they give it up to building populations like Salarya or Prestige or something like that. And automatically, what then happens is access to those parks are extremely curtailed. Where because it is even if it is a public-private partnership where everyone is supposed to have access to it, what ends up happening is it is number one time bound and it is also restricted to people who are usually attached to the building where that park is being created. So very succinctly, I know it back down to the bit, but what is the rate or is the government engaging in building and preserving just simple community centers of this nature?
Not enough, and we should ask for more. Even the ones that exist, we have other parts of the city, but they're not most of the time. Everybody should know this. And that's what's there. And that's a really easy problem to solve. And there have been a lot of startups from efforts from the few. But unless people like ask for it, we don't have any incentive to work. It's for work for them to begin. And the official will be is safety. We don't want companies making out of people drinking. But that's not a good reason, right? So yeah, I don't think they're making many of your parts. They are often busy renovating existing parts, adding stuff to it. And in the case of weights, which has a lot of overlap with parts, they're also slowly reclaiming and reviving some things. I thought it was local to us. Yes.
Just to add to the point, I think what we're actually telling us about there is a car brain network which is designing our cities. There is an opportunity cost to it, right? Which is the public space. So the moment, so there was, I'm forgetting the city it was. There was this data on the amount of space that is given in the car parks and multi-level car parks within the other in a particular city. If you compare that with the amount of slum demolition that has happened and the area around which it's happened, it's actually comparable. So it really means that there is a certain kind of prioritizing of how the city space is going to be used. For what purpose? Whether it's going to be used for people's households, homes, or for parks, or for squares, or for car parks, and that's I think it's a question of where is it that our priorities have shifted, knowingly, unknowingly, intentionally, unintentionally. Those are things.
100%. Just to add that, there is a trade-off, and it's a really big trade-off. We don't see things go to the streets and in the city, right? Kids go to the streets anymore because we do have that space to have. It could be housing, it could be shops, it could be a shop vendor. There really 22 square feet spent families, which could be something else. And that's not the
But I think we should talk about Bengawalk as
That's correct. So it's like one thing, then we will come back to your question and then a few others. So it's up. I just picking 2 slides. 30 seconds.
it's very interesting work, so you should talk about it.
Oh, so then I would have to and I took out to it, but then we will what we are doing, and you need to be good skills of this on your own. What we're doing is building awareness about good cities. A lot of what we spoke about today in the last 1 hour, we make videos about this stuff on Instagram and how increasingly go on YouTube. So subscribe to our YouTube, thanks. There are very fun videos, and I think ourselves are trying to make a lot of these edits. You start to own technical and very advanced science. We just want videos, right? And I think that's the way to bring change in the long term. This, like we joke about it, and this is at least a 20-year project for Bangalore to have good months and good months. Yeah, it can be done on paper in 6 months, but the momentum that we need to make it happen is going to take time. So that's what we do. We make videos, we write, we also work with the government to design. The first project will be the example of this, and you go to the website, see more. But we work with the government to define 6 bus routes. I should work with the government, we work with these routes for low income communities that stay in the outskirts of the city. And they couldn't go anywhere because they didn't have options. Right? Despite living in Bangalore, they not see laptop, color park, nothing. And they live like beyond the world from junction, for example. Right? So we work with them, we found out what is missing in the public transport journey, and we've been handling it with the BNPC. We get some of these passengers in very good news, few as well as actually one car. And the rest will come and then hopefully we will do more like this. So this is very often public facing work. Q funding is one of the projects that my mother family happens. When you were lot of us like easily to optimistic in the city, because like you mentioned,
Yeah, I'm just not.
Yes, that was not building enough parks, right? We have a 300 university as well, where they building a 9 kilometer long public space along first tower and three. It used to be a kind of road, there was like having had it built. And over the last 3 4 years, the government has been renovating the trade and making the public space. One is over 20%. The two grids were no gates is over 20%. So we get a documentary about how this transformation happened. Again, it's another aspect, which I would like. YouTube, I have already mentioned, and all of this is towards good cities. What's most fun and what we want to do more is stuff like sticker bombing. I got a bunch of stickers, just as some person, please take them after this. And stick them wherever you see, public spaces, bus stops, street lights, your laptop. And the idea here is this is a marketing problem, they're turning getting awareness from our cities and repetition helps. So, many times someone sees the bus in different contexts, the more they're going to think about it, and the higher the chances that you are advocating for the income. Yeah, so we will do some of this, we will do Polish, and we will, stay in touch. We're also doing stuff that makes public transport more accessible. One of the good examples is the Metro Bus app. If you use it, we made it. With their BNPC website also, and this is an extension, so they have to use it before. So we made an app, and then also do ranking. That's about the really nice 3,000 word essay with graphics and 3D models about how the defense law used to be public space, and now it is stuff and it's party, and that's it. Yeah. I don't know if you in this room have David Beckley or sitting on the steps of the last of I Bakery, but that used to be one thing. Yeah. And it was the thing, and it's not a thing now, and that's such a good loss for the city. And just talking about this, if anyone is true, is what we want to do. And from that end of books, with the practice, and want to do us rights that we have to do. Yes.
So you are constantly calling it over engineering. I would say, why don't we call it a bad engineering? Because we are not using great at it. For instance, if you go to Delhi, you will see they build many bus stops without any route. So why is duplication devoid of any purpose? Like for instance, there is no use value. And also, like for instance, I don't think that this car brain thing that explains everything. Like for instance, it might be useful for understanding how roads are built, but in terms of building these bus stops, there is something else which is going on. Why? I don't understand. Secondly, like you contrast it with this idea that why is it the case that car parking on public spaces is not a problem, but when we park, like for instance, when we have put our sofa or AC, it becomes a problem. I don't think that would be an appropriate example to contrast with, because car has a use value, but sofa does not have a use value on a road. Thirdly is, like for instance, it might be political impact, for instance, but there is nothing about poor in this talk, for instance. This is more about having having a car owners or not car owners. But it might be the case that you might have a car, but when you are traveling by bus or by like for instance school, you might feel same problem. And also like for instance, if we go deeper sociology here, how do we like for instance generate a state in an economy or in a society where owning car is a status symbol? And I want to have a car, and I also want to have a road which is signal free, and also want to have a road which is like is wide. So how do we generate that, for instance? So car cannot be a villain in that sense. If we actually says the if we go like I don't know whether it is appropriate or to ask this like how do we generate a state in public transport, for instance? Why like somebody asked that why is it a taboo? For instance, if you go to a Scandinavian country, everybody is using public transport. But the thing is that we will have to put them deeper in a sense that what are the sociological reasons due to which, like for instance, people think that they own public spaces. So why is this heightened individualism of sort where others does not matter? And for that to understand, you have to tell sociologically what caste does, what religious fragmentation does. Without that, you cannot understand these things. These are the things that I would say.
Thank you, it's really well put. And I would agree with all 5 points. I would say, starting from the back, India is a private society, and so there is a massive sociological factor to all of this. Our brain itself as well, right? There is this pride that comes from owning a car, right? Ghar whatever, Gadi something like that. And it's ruling right, something. But it's an aspiration, and it is everyone's right to aspire for higher, right? But at the same time, we cannot, like, car is a very resource intensive piece of infrastructure. It is not the most efficient way to handle the city, right? So how do we manage this, right? When we have everyone be the king, that doesn't make any sense. We can have everyone be just equal values and things. And Scandinavia, for example, the systems are so rich that I know what we use. Car is an asset attribute for parking. Even in India, car owners, if you take away the issue with happiness and pride, and after that, when you become a user, you will not see the experience of great. Yeah, I wish I could. I would much rather take an option, but we don't give them good enough options. And I think that is the happens. If we had a good, reliable, affordable system of public transport, in cities, for sure, we will see lesser car ownership.
But come to that, like for instance, when middle classes have shifted to private vehicles and these things, who and we know that all these policies are like coming from these middle classes. So why the government bother about like this poor, for instance? There is dead end in that sense, like for instance. So that is why elites will have to stay available. Like just look at the water crisis that we have in Bangalore. Elites think that Amazon parking it without we are giving a residential colony. So until and unless you generate a like for instance, stake in elite themselves, there is I don't think that these problems they will become more chronic again.
So if like mentioned 7% average, right? And I'm sure you see that graph. Now my numbers are that, so which is not, but the elites, the middle class people with an income above 60,000 per month, it's 10% of the population, roughly, right? The remaining 90 cannot afford to go, right? Eventually, there will come a time population increase. Right? And if everyone owns a car, this is not simply not sustainable. Our country is not large enough to have our full population meet our time. Right? America is very different, and they are facing problems because they are from Dubai. In India, practically speaking, it's not possible, and we need to, from policy side, from regulation side, direct the growth of the city. And that's the job of the government. To look in the future, we have this will be better. And then it us. First question, so, yes, please.
I couldn't, my question is about walkability and city. But with regard to tier two cities, like I come from Bhopal. So they have introduced, space, dedicated space for cyclists, but it has been like, more than 8 years, I would say. It is not so popular, be adopted by the population. And then when we have this distinction of old Bhopal, new Bhopal, good Hyderabad, good Ahmedabad. So over there, these concepts do not make much sense, but they are being used in a very different place. At some point, in old cities, I find them much more walkable, given chaos. Second, I had a question about trams. Like, it was talking about Scandinavian traffic. So you are saying that, I mean, either it is bad engineering or over engineering. Can we have this kind of an infrastructure? Can that happen? Having trams, I mean, metros are also in a way similar to that, but we just asking the question about trams.
Good, so, for your Bhopal cycle lane, there is a lot of really good work that is being done in the street of auditing this kind of infrastructure in the Indian context, right? And we should read more about it. But what you described is very correct, and it's not just Bhopal, it's happening in a lot of cities where you put the cycle lane from point A to point B, and it's really nice that people are not using it. Right? When you ask why is this happening? There's a lot of reasons, but one of the biggest ones is that you can't build a single piece of infrastructure, you have to build a network. Right? Take Bangalore as an example. Right now, 8 lakh people now use the metro, and there are 2 lanes. Only once Bangalore's metro network is denser can we expect to see higher number of people. 8 lakh is nothing. Bangalore, for running Bangalore as a population of 1.5 crore. So 8 lakh after 10, 15 years of metro is very less. Right? And the reason is yes, is because we don't have a network here. For me as a commuter, if I have to take a auto, then take the metro, then take a bus, then take one more auto division, I'm going to take a car and go. Yeah? Same for the cycle lane. If the cycle lane exists only in a few places, it doesn't make sense for me as a user to use. There needs to be a holistic network, right? And there's a lot of these low purpose. And I think we are still sitting, yes, sitting very complex and growing very fast. And there is no like, this complicated solution. So, old city music is also really great, right? Every city in India has a old city. Chipet in Bangalore, for example. Bhopal is also good too, but I have started similar. Old cities by nature are walkable because everyone built there were no cars. It had to be built for people to be able to navigate comfortably in the heat of India without vehicles. They will have vehicles, they will have for goods, right? Special occasion will be carrying that palki, right? But otherwise, the default mode of transport is car, they walk, and it works really well. So all old cities have this character of being extremely awkward. And today, if they see for the best, it is because of the vehicles that have approached that. Right? If you put that away, very quickly it becomes almost another society. All of the European city codes, if I'm not wrong, have this character, and they removed on-street parking, and they removed majority of thoroughfare, and they very little walkable models. We do that in India also, and Champi Delhi, Church Street in Bangalore, it's nice, we give up, we're doing it again. It's happening, and we are figuring it out.
Okay,
Oh, hey. You people first. Yeah, you can start with his hand has been up for, right?
So you have a question, but can we
Oh,
go like
sorry.
this? And keep it short? We'll wind up.
I don't keep my answers short.
Also, like, can we collect the questions, all three questions, and then you can go?
So I have like 2 points to mention here. Like we were discussing about public transport like bus. It was too difficult to build a network rather than build a flyover. I mean, going upfront, taking us on that, people don't know even about the existing network. Like people are not even aware of the existing bus routes, bus transport and all. Like, hey, let's take an Uber or Ola. It's much easier than people searching for existing. So why did the government ever not think of the perspective of accessibility, like even train stations or others, everything is getting digitized. So why not digitize public transport? Like making people aware of the existing bus routes, bus numbers, everything. Why does the government incentive on the price, like to make the transport to rural than thinking of accessibility perspective, which will actually increase demand and in fact, maybe give a push to the government to go to the extent of building a new network.
Good question. I'm just making a note because we collect questions and I'm not going to do it.
Good. Yeah.
So, sir, I had a question with regard to the surveillance of bodies that occurs when cities are expanded. So, like, with regard to the old Bhopal, new one question, I think it was more that old Bhopal is more huddled together. And because it's for really for walking. So, government may not always, government may have limited surveillance in such huddled old cities. But when you were showing the pictures about how the streets have been expanded to accommodate more cars, I think away from the car question, expanding the streets does have an implicit consequence of the surveillance of more bodies, so it can expand the streets, like in the older times. So it can be about a government surveillance angle, like this widening of streets.
Maybe should skip you for now.
So I don't know, this is already discussed, I walked a little late. I've seen a recently came across your post on Twitter, I think, about the Maitranali project that they're trying to use government land basically. So I mean, I'm not from Bangalore, I think I've worked in for the past few years. One thing that I have some of my friends noticed is that there's a lot of government land within the heart of the city, right? How do you sort of like unlock? I mean, I'm sure a lot of it is like lying around, nothing much to be done about it. Should we unlock? How do we unlock? What do we even do with this land? That's one thing I've just been like, I've noticed going on in Bangalore. And
Short. Keep your questions short.
yeah, I mean, that's about it. I mean, I have more, but we can take it off.
Sure.
Much quickly if you want to describe.
This is a quick comment, response to something Krishna said earlier and which came up in the discussion. The question of public spaces and safety cannot be divorced from a particular kind of aesthetic, from the idea of aesthetic and who is constitutes that aesthetic. In India, that aesthetic is primarily informed by caste, secondarily by religion and some other factors. And you spoke about the climate aesthetic, but it's important to also keep that in mind when we think of the idea of and who gets to access that space.
Once again, I'll start from that side, and we'll go this way. Bus marketing and awareness, they're trying their best, but it's not like they're not doing it. They made the little app, using numbers and check out. They do that campaigns for awareness, but it's very close to competing with Uber and Ola, for example. In terms of mind space, especially for people who afford Uber. Okay? As soon as you bring the price question in, bus someone who needs to work on something other the other budget, you will know or find out or you get the bus. Like, it's not a real journey sometimes. A lot of changes, a lot of time. But they are going on and they are getting better. And if you feel like you don't have information about the buses, please speak to us afterwards. We will catch us. Google Maps has, yeah, so on Google Maps, you can select it, but it's the full option, full option. So I see your point. A lot of people can miss the bus easily, but it's a good system. Like it should, as a commuter backward, it should be one of the options. In some journeys, it's the best option, right? Objectively, time, price, and everything. So, as far as exploring it, and if you need a crash course, we can.
And shallow and early aspects are like electric government privatized.
Yeah, there is Pune and shallow with a few apps, but it is simple enough and like bus, just go to the bus stop and ask one question and you figure it out. It's a fun way to do it. Surveillance is surely easier. I see your point, but I don't think it will work to factor in the decision making process right now. Is what I think. Yeah. And government land, there is a lot of effects land in Bangalore. There's a lot of railway land, and there's a lot of PSU land, right? IT IoT and all of that. So all of these have a lot of potential to become public. Right now, let's say they're private, right? Like people can't access it. There's a lot of potential, and you will see already it's happening. If you go from the Kolkata, on both sides of that inner ring road is defense. And every few years, you'll see that one more and there's one that's being built right now. And so, because there's immense pressure on this land, because of market value, eventually it is going to change and become something. The government should ideally be able to regulate it and move it in the direction that's beneficial to the city, as opposed to what's happening right now, and it benefits one of the parties very well. Right? Good example is Palace Grounds, which would be another public park with public space, which you walk through and cycle through. Right now it's not done. And if they do that, it would reduce a lot of load on Bengaluru road, right? And so that takes up a lot of relation. Also really nice place. But right now it is kind of so government needs to make some moves. Will you do it? Okay. Yeah.
On that, thank you very much for this really to understand that song. The while we're talking, I was thinking about how we do kind of now of this talk. And I think we should have all of these conversations with the philosophy. Thank you everyone for coming in this and all this while asking the great questions. So we really look forward to having you more and more and having these discussions more and more. And we look forward to having you more often on campus. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.